going. Like I remember giving you a homework. I have done my homework, so I just want to see whether my homework also has been done. So I will straight away come to, just a minute, escape. First, let me open my PPT. So how I'm going to start, I'm going to start with a small quiz, and I hope the chat box is accessible to everybody. And we start with a small quiz. I had given 3-4 pages to read. The entire quiz is from those 3-4 pages. Yeah, so I hope my screen is visible. So before we actually get down to today's agenda, which we had decided, we will come to certain quizzes. If we can get going, are you all ready with your hands on your text box? Open the chat. What are the 4 stages in new design of pedagogical curricular structure? Just keep typing. I'm sure at least 2-3 answers should come in, and Tanya can keep a track of who's answering maximum. Maybe Meenakshi ma'am can give a small chocolate to that lady or a guy. There are 4 stages in which I just use those stages, no? When we were talking about breakout sessions. The entire structure has been restructured. It is not 10+2 anymore. We said it is 5+3+3+4. So what are the names of this 4 stages? If you could just put it in the chat. Yes, this is the structure, but what are the name? Foundation. Yes, we call it foundational. Perfect. Preparatory, we call it preparatory, then middle, then secondary. Yeah, Kanika, 2 right. 3+3+4. I think Shailaja and Rashmi have got, Shailaja and Shrishta have got it right. It's foundational, preparatory, middle, secondary. Perfect. The second one. What does ECC stand for? What does ECC stand for? We did talk about this. This was related to some early years. Yeah, ECCE. Pretty close, Kanika, pretty close. Yes, yes, early childcare. So a little more. How do I cater for E? Perfect. So early childhood care education. Thank you. Who's this? Anamika. That's it. So it is, yes, Shrestha, it is early childhood care education. Yes, Tavashyam. Very good. Charu, pretty close. Tanika, yes. So perfect. So all of you have it now. Come to the next question. Shelly, I can see your hands are raised. You could simply type it in the chat box and we will come back to you later. Now, this is NCPF. ECC, hum sabko pata hai kya hai. We talked about yesterday NCPF, ECCE. This was National Curricular and Pedagogical Framework, if you remember. So ECCE ke liye jo national level pe framework banega curriculum ka, pedagogy ka, it will cater for 2 groups. Perfect, Kanika. It will cater for 0 to 3 years and it will cater for 3 to 8 years. So ye jo frame banega, it will be divided into 2 subframes. One would be for 0 to 3 and the other one would be for the 3 to 8. Yes, Sapna, perfect. Nidhi, one framework you mentioned, Neha, that's exactly what it is. Shailaja, it is 0 to 3 and then 3 to 8, perfect. 0 to 3, Tanika, right, and 3 to 8, Bharti, yes. Khushbu has completed it with the second chats, and yes, I think most of you are right on this. We come to the next question. Prior to the age of 5, every child will move to, we did discuss this in the last this thing. And this is specific to, if you remember, when they were talking about Anganwadis. When they were talking about Anganwadis and they said, What if Anganwadis, yes, Anganwadis will be there, preschool, they're already existing. Shreshtha, but what would happen? Where would you put them? From Anganwadis, after they've attained the age of 5, there would, perfect, preparatory class. Ganesh, that's a right answer, preparatory class. We also call it Balvatika, Kanika, perfect. Preparatory, Rashmi correct, Kanika correct, Nidhi yes, Sapna yes. So it would be called preparatory class, or it would be called Balvatika. This is when we talked about Anganwadis yesterday, we did talk about it. It is also included in the pages that I told you to read. So perfect. So yes, Neha, it's preparatory. Coming to the next question. ECC will also be introduced in ashram shalas. Is it right? And if somebody can also, yes, perfect, Kanika, yes, it is yes. And of course, probability, yes, I can say. If anybody can also tell me, where are these ashram shalas? Which areas are they in? Anybody, though the question is not listed here, if anybody can also tell me, where do we find these ashram shalas? Anyone? Anybody? You could even, it's an open book test, if you can even try to find it right away. It is in tribal dominated areas. Perfect. That's right, Rashmi. So all those areas, rural areas, whereas it's a tribal, more tribal people, that is where instead of Anganwadis, in addition to that, we have ashram shalas, which also talks about the culture. It also teaches the culture of those areas. Perfect. I'm happy to see how you people are prepared today. Lovely. So now, we are talking about, we did discuss foundational literacy and numeracy yesterday. And it is said in the NEP, if you see that they have said that will be achieved by 2025. And they say, universal foundational literacy and numeracy. So what they're talking about is, they're talking about the entire set of those children who are in that age group would achieve this foundational literacy. And Manya, would you like to say something about this? I can see hands raised. Can Manya be unmuted? I will unmute her. No, I'm not able to. Manya, do you want to speak now, or do you want to write here? Can you write it in the chat box? Manya, Shelly, I can see your hands are raised. So how are we actually going to achieve this? Any idea? Was there something to be set up? Did the NEP say that we are going to set up something? Anybody can recollect? हमने पहुंचना तो है, हमने यहाँ तक पहुंचना है कि हमें सबको फाउंडेशन लेवल की लिटरेसी एंड न्यूमरेसी कम से कम आनी चाहिए. When the survey happened, they realized that Diksha, yes, maybe through Diksha also. Perfect. But which is, I think your answer is right, Kanika. But can you also tell me which, yes, with the help of MHRD, yes, Rashmi, MHRD was supposed to be set up a mission. Any idea, do you remember what that mission was called? Rather, it's already been set up. In 2020, when the NEP came into scene, they said that MHRD would set up a mission, national mission on foundational literacy and numeracy. And they would chart out with the help of NCERT, they'll chart out what will be listed. Do you know it is already existing? Do you know it is already been set up? Have you heard of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan is something older? Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan is the result of 2005 NEP. Then they said that accessibility will be with everybody. Everybody must have the education, right to education. That is when I said, yes, on the previous day that we met, that it was told that every district and every geographical location will have a school. As a result, there were so many schools every 5 kilometers, whether they were children or not, they did not really pay attention to it. So Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan has already been merged with another Abhiyan. So specific to the MHRD mission that we are talking about, it is called Nipun Bharat. It is not listed in NEP because NEP made 2020 NEP, I think, and that is when it was said that MHRD will set up a national mission for foundational literacy and numeracy, and it has already been set up, and that is called Nipun Bharat. I will write it here. You could Google it later to understand what it is. It is nothing but it is a department of school education and literacy, and which is concentrating on foundational literacy and numeracy. Perfect. So just one more question to go, and then we continue with today's learning. Somebody said Diksha. Diksha, as an answer to how will we achieve foundational literacy, you're very right. Diksha has a portion which also deals with foundational literacy and numeracy. However, Diksha is what? It is something big. What it is? It is a portal. A hint I can give you, it is a portal. It is an online portal. So what is it? Digital perfect, Shalja? Yes, it is digital. Digital what? I have said portal. So it is a digital infrastructure for online portal, digital infrastructure, perfect. A digital infrastructure for knowledge. Yes, Shresha, yes, Divya, yes, Kanika, and yes, Shailaja. Perfect. So yes, so basically the purpose of this Diksha is, it is existing. If you all want to know, it's website. I will put it down here. It's dikshagov.in. Where am I typing? So if you want to later on as a homework or as a little surfing you can do later, diksha.gov.in, this is the portal of Diksha, and it is, yes, very correctly said, is a digital structure or infrastructure or portal, you may call it, for knowledge sharing, as was listed in the, and Diksha is not something new. It is not resultant of NEP. It was already there, but whatever NEP is saying, it is being through Diksha, we are able to fast track every learning that we are talking about. It contains all the videos for the content we are teaching in class, also the lesson plans, also other resources. And sabse achhi baat hai ki you can also contribute to it. If you think you've created something very nice, you could also, through your school ID, you can also upload it. So that is why it said it's supposed to be for the knowledge sharing. So perfect. I think we all of can give a round of applause. Let me use all of you can use your reaction, this thing, since I'm sharing my screen, I'm not able to. So you could all kind of clap for one another. Okay, so this is the goal that we had set up yesterday for ourselves. These are the 4 things you people had listed, or I had listed with the help of the discussion that we had. So I picked up that slide and put it here. So goals that were set out for this meeting were, I had to kind of talk about how does the implementation of NEP happen in the classrooms? How do we actually help children develop skill within the classrooms? How exactly my policy NEP impacts what happens in the classroom? How do we come from policy to the learning outcomes which are there in the classrooms, and how can we strengthen the concepts in the learner's mind, learner taking ownership. So what it means that whatever I do in my class, I should not be the only one who's talking. For example, right now, whatever happened in the chat box, just one person was contributed by me. So I am not the person who's giving you information. You people are kind of reflecting in your own knowledge and putting down those answers. Also for your peers who have probably not read it, but then when you wrote these answers, it got reinforced in their minds. So peer learning happened here, the engagement of the students happened here. And through this is how, so I'm trying to encapsulate whatever you had wanted me to take on for today. And I will continue, we're already at 4:22. So I'm mindful of the time. Coming to the next, now, how does the policy change to learning outcomes? How does it reach the classroom? Whatever is listed in the policy, that gives us purpose. So I will be picking up one portion of a policy. As you read that portion, you realize that policy is something that gives you purpose. हम कर रहे हैं, हम क्यों कर रहे हैं, हम जो करेंगे, हम वो क्यों करेंगे. So this is what we need to be very clear on. So it gives us a purpose. If I'm a teacher and I have got students of 5-year-olds in front of me, or if I have got students of 11-year-olds in front of me, whatever I do with them in my classroom, मैं कर क्यों रही हूँ? What is my larger objective? Is my objective is to teach them different tenses in my English class? Or my objective is this particular child should be able to write grammatically correct. His writing skills should be developed. he should be able to develop spoken, and so that when he's to communicate with his people or in his workplace tomorrow or to his peer group or to whoever, he's able to communicate correctly. So what is and that is what it, when there is a larger educational goals, that purpose changes into smaller educational goals, and that educational goal is further subdivided and becomes your learning outcome. What learning outcome? The learning outcome of that 40 minutes or that teaching learning session that you're going to have with your students. So this is how we are going to break down. I'm going to take any one portion of the policy and I'm going to help you pay a lot of attention to this, because today I am not the one who will be talking. You are the one who is going to understand what I'm going to say just now, and you're going to use this understanding in the breakout session to discuss what we are going to do. Our breakout sessions might start earlier in case I feel that we are kind of understood what I'm trying to say. Coming to the next, I have simply picked up, you want to read it from here, you want to open your own PDF and pick up 1.2 section, read it there. Anyone who volunteers to read it aloud? Whoever has power to unmute herself or himself. Anybody wants to read this aloud? Tanya, would you do that?
Sure, ma'am, I'll do that. Yeah. ECCE ideally consists of flexible, multifaceted, multi-level, play-based, activity-based, and inquiry-based learning, comprises of alphabets, languages, numbers, counting, colors, shapes, indoor and outdoor play, puzzles, and logical thinking. Problem solving, drawing, painting, and other visual craft, drama and puppetry, music and movement. It also includes a focus on developing social capacities, sensitivity, good behavior, courtesy, ethics, personal and public cleanliness, teamwork, and cooperation. The overall aim of ECCE will be to attain optimal outcomes in the domains of physical and motor development, cognitive development, socio-emotional, ethical development, cultural, artistic development, and the development of communication and early language, literacy, and numeracy.
Perfect. Thank you, Tanya. So it so very beautifully brings out all the aspects of it. It does not, let's concentrate on the cognitive. Neelam, I'll take your help, or Rashmi, if you could help me. Just pick out of this, Rashmi, if you could help me pick out those words out of this paragraph, which help me develop physical capabilities, motor skill development. If you could just pick up all those words, which are the activities or which are the words which tell me that, yes, let me concentrate on physical development.
You want me to read it out?
Just pick up those words from this. Yeah, those portions.
Okay. Inquiry-based learning, activity-based and inquiry-based learning comprising of alphabets.
Which one are we talking about? Cognitive? कौन सा कर रहे हैं? कोई एक करेंगे बताओ. Cognitive करना चाहते हो? Cognitive. यानी कि you're developing the knowledge base of the child. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about only cognitive right now.
So alphabets, languages, numbers, counting, colors, shapes, indoor and outdoor puzzles, and
pause. Indoor and outdoor play. If it is connected with academic, it will be cognitive. Otherwise, it is just a physical motor development. Fine. Coming to continue.
Then problem solving.
Yeah.
Drawing, painting, and visual art. Craft.
Pause. If I am painting freehand without copying anything, if my teacher has given something, if my book has got something, and I'm trying to replicate it, then I'm simply trying to see and match and do it myself. So the concentration is probably more on the motor skills and mapping. Okay. So little of cognitive, more of motor skill development. If a person is left to do it himself and said, okay, let's create an apple, then there is a visualization happening. So depending on what kind of painting are we making a child do, what kind of drawing we are trying to make a child do, will decide whether it's a cognitive ability development exercise, or it generally, ideally, all your exercises should be multiple goal-oriented, right? Continue. Yes, Rashmi.
Drama and puppetry, music and movement.
Music and movement, music again, little you're trying to develop musical intelligence, but while the child is tapping and trying to get the rhythm
Dancing.
right. Yes, perfect.
It also lays a focus on developing social capacities, sensitivity, good behavior.
So that social capacity will it come under cognitive, or will it come under fine motor skills, or will it come under affective domain? We did talk about head, heart, and mind yesterday.
It will come under effective domain, no?
Affective domain. Perfect. Any other addition? Anybody else? Who do I call now? Neetu, Kanika. Kanika, would you like to say something, bache? Anyone who could tell me specifically for affective domain, things involving heart. What all words are touching there?
Mind, heart, attitudes, emotional quotient, EQ of the child.
Yes. Over here. Pick up words from here. Sensitivity.
Sensitivity, yes.
Good behavior, social capacities, courtesy, ethics, cleanliness. Huh? Okay. What is teamwork and cooperation? Where will this come in? Anybody else? Rashmi, not Rashmi. Sorry, Rashmi.
It's okay.
Sorry, because I want the other people to participate.
Sure, ma'am.
Anybody who can tell me, what does teamwork and cooperation teach a child? What is it? Is it affective domain, cognitive domain? Pratishta, Vidushi, Shrestha, आप बात कर रहे हो?
The social, emotional, ethical development. This particular thing.
Teamwork will come under social development.
Basically, social development. Yes, ma'am. Basically, social development. Like child is socially active. He is able to make good companionship with other students as well as teachers also.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody around him.
Very correct. So when we talk about social development, we are initially first stage is self-awareness, right? Do I know myself? Then comes the my relationship. When I say self-awareness, what is it? It's intrapersonal, within me. Within me, do I know myself? Intrapersonal relationship. What kind of relationship do I have with myself? Can I control my emotions better? Do I lose my anger? And things like that. Like you said, how do I deal with my teachers? Or how do I deal with my peer group and things like that? It results in the social emotional learning. However, it is an interpersonal skills that we are teaching. So all these things are absolutely right, social, but they are skills. So sometimes when we talk about skill building, we are on to carpentry, we are on to IT, and we are talking polytechnique, and we only can visualize all these. The fact is, if you look at the 21st century skills, what are those? These are all collaboration. Anybody remembers what are 21st century skills? Collaborations. There is a critical thinking and problem solving skills that we need to pick up. So all these things, we'll come to that. Let's not divert our agenda for today. Now, what happens? Now, let's look at now this was what we saw was a policy. I picked up this portion from a policy. Okay, from this policy, I'm going to derive, if you remember, I said policy gives us purpose. What is the purpose? Policy gave us purpose that we have to make a child who has had emotional development, ethical development, culturally, cognitive development, all these. He's a whole rounded. He understands music, he can solve a problem. This is my purpose. My purpose with my student is I have to make my children or my students this, what policy says. How do I go about it? I set up my development goals according to what policy said. मैंने क्या फाउंडेशन स्टेज के अपने गोल सेटअप किए, 3 गोल सेटअप किए. एक, my child should be have good health and well-being. Second, I set up was, if you want, I can share this PPT with you, so you don't have to worry on noting down too much. Okay. Otherwise, if you want to note down, you're welcome to. Goal 1, I said children must maintain good health and well-being. Goal 2, we set up according to what we read just now. Children become effective communicator. Then third, children become involved learners and connect with their immediate environment. Not just the teachers, not just the students, not just the pets, not just the family, also with the clouds, roads, rains, rain, and all those things also. So environment comprises of, if I look at very small children, it will be comprising of my postman, my mama, my papa, my teacher, and all those things. Also my tree, my garden, my plant, also my puppy, my this, my that, also my friend, also my book, also my pen. So all those things, this is what environment is all about. That is why for a small children, we do not segregate sciences and social sciences. We could put it put it together as environmental studies. What is environment? To them, environment is also the postman, environment is also the teacher, environment is also that little beetle which is crawling on the road, or the earthworm which comes out from the garden, and all the brinjal that a person picks up, or when he goes to the market, he picks up those Shimla mirch and things like that. Everything is environment for him. Also those machines. When I'm working on my computer or my mobile, when I'm trying to go on the YouTube to listen to those nursery rhymes that my mama handed me over, everything is environment for them. So it's just an environmental studies that we're talking about. Coming back to, let me just take any one goal out of it. क्योंकि इतनी बड़ी policy थी, बहुत बड़ी सी policy थी, उस policy से मैंने एक छोटा सा portion निकाला. इस portion से मैंने छोटे कुछ development goals यहाँ पे लिखे. This slide I have taken from, we had a Shiksha Parv, in which the head of foundational literacy, जो इसके head थे इस mission के national mission for foundation, उन्होंने ये slide बनाई थी. मैंने वहां से ली ये slide. The CBSE had run this, the MHRD had run this program in May or June. अब इसमें से मैं सिर्फ goal 2 लेती हूँ. I'm just picking up goal 2. इसको मैं निकालूंगी as a learning outcome. So that as a teacher, what do I do in my classroom so that I'm able to help the NEP be realized in my country? Now, just concentrate, you can see development goal 1 and 3 as well, but I want to concentrate only on development goal 2 for now because of paucity of time. So when I'm trying to make my child or my children effective communicators, what am I doing? I'm teaching them how to talk, how to listen, how to read, how to comprehend what they read, how do they comprehend what they listen, how do they comprehend what they hear, how do they write well, how do they write with some sense, whether their writing is achieving a purpose. So this is the development. I have further broken down all these things into smaller learning outcome. ये मेरा लक्ष्य है. ये मेरा learning outcome है. ये मेरा उद्देश्य है. This is what I need to achieve while I am doing a session with my children. इसी तरीके से if you look at the development goal 3, इसमें sensory आ रहा है, concept आ रहा है, environment, all those. I don't want to concentrate on that because I need to bring home one particular concept. याद करिए, आपको policy से हमने development goals पे लाया, development goals को और छोटे portions में करके learning outcomes बताए हैं. ये learning outcomes और भी छोटे हो सकते हैं. For example, when I'm talking about writing, for that lesson, you could say that I am helping child learn how to form a letter B. So it could be even narrowed down even further. Okay, now we have already talked about it. अब मेरे को सब लोग help करेंगे कि ये एक activity है. Anybody who can tell me what is happening here? Anybody who volunteers to tell me what is happening?
Ma'am, the child is using his fine motor skills. So you can say with the help of his skills, he is putting thread in the beads or showing in the form of raindrops. Perfect. So there is a cloud, and firstly, probably the vertical lines would have been made. Let me tell you what it is. ये जो blue color है, या तो वो bead है, या हम इसको पास्ता भी ले सकते हैं, macaroni, वो जो इस shape के पास्ता होते हैं, long से जिनके बीच में through and through hole होता है. We can pick up any of such thing और bead ले सकते हैं. पहले हमने straight line बनाई थी, तो उसमें हमने बच्चे का क्या किया? What did we teach there? So पहले हमने line बनाई सीधी cloud से नीचे, and after that we pasted, let's assume macaronis, ये जो वाले पास्ता हैं जिनके बीच में gap है. एंड ये जो थ्रेड्स थे, हमने जब क्लाउड्स को पेस्ट किया, पहले से हमने उसके थ्रेड्स उसके नीचे पेस्ट कर दिए थे. ये हैंगिंग थ्रेड्स हैं. इन थ्रेड को हम अब बीड के थ्रू ले जाके ऐसे कर रहे हैं. दिस इज द एक्टिविटी. सपोज ये आपने अपने क्लास में किया. नाउ व्हाट इज द लर्निंग आउटकम ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर एक्टिविटी? पीछे जा सकते हो चाहो तो. लेट मी टेक यू हियर.
Let me take you here. इसका तुम डेवलपमेंट गोल वन देख लो एक बार फिर से. ग्रॉस मोटर स्किल्स, फाइन मोटर स्किल्स, आई हैंड कोऑर्डिनेशन. सो इसमें से क्या हो सकता है? नंबर सेंस, नंबर ऑपरेशन, मेजरमेंट, शेप, डेटा हैंडलिंग हो रहा है कि नहीं? क्या टॉकिंग, लिसनिंग ये हो रहा है? राइटिंग विद पर्पस हो रहा है? और यू कैन ब्रेक इट डाउन टू फर्दर any other. What I want to list, help me list out the learning.
Hand coordination, first one.
Okay.
First one, hand-eyes coordination, fine motor skill.
Okay, hand-eye coordination. Okay. Next.
Fine motor skill, because they are using their fingers.
Okay, fine and motor skills can involve. Anybody else now? Anybody else wants to do? You can even leave it in the chat box if you want. Something there in the chat box. Yeah. Gross and fine. Gross, I would not say Shrestha. It's only fine. Gross is generally walking, macro work. When you learn to stand, when you learn to walk, when you learn to hold bigger things, for example, a football. When it is putting your thread through the bead, it is fine motor skill. Okay, Shrestha? And then counting a number. So yes, we could also introduce counting over here. We could say that, and also we could introduce counting, teaching counting. Just a minute, it is not coming in. Counting, yes. Ordinal numbers, do you realize? Ordering, do you realize what is ordering? The order. Ordering, teaching them ordering / sequencing. Perfect. Anything else? What have you written? Health and nutrition if pasta involved. Then we'll have to make them do whole wheat pasta, right? Then we have to make sure that it's a whole wheat pasta if you're trying to bring in health and nutrition. Yes, Shailja. Anything else that we are trying to teach a child here? Measurement and shapes. Yes, if I am telling them, so it is basically a pre-numeracy. So it is a pre-numeracy skill. Pre-numeracy skills I'm trying to teach them. And pre-numeracy skills may, what exactly are we teaching, you said? Parallel lines, yes. Parallel lines. And I'm teaching them measurement because I have told them that when you make this line, you place the pasta or the beads with equal distance. So I'm teaching them measurement. What else? Touch and feel. Yes, sensory is definitely development. Sensory development is there. Sensory. Okay, what else? Knowledge of season, perfect, very nice. So little environment sensitization, seasons, rainy season to be specific, rainy season. So anything else? Colors, yes, colors. We could say that first line can be a blue color, or we could say that blue colors, Rita is going to bead the blue beads and Neetu is going to do the orange beads. If we decide to do 2 colors, we could also introduce colors over here. Pause. So that's wonderful. So much has been put here, and I'm so glad that you could think of so many things. So now tell me, this particular activity was a very simple activity, but we were able to achieve so many things. We're able to achieve so many objectives. So is this a good example or a bad example? Isn't it a lovely example for any activity to be? So whenever you design an activity for your class, it's a good example, Kanika says. So whenever you're trying to design an activity, your purpose has to be, हम उसी एक 40 minutes में कितना ज़्यादा सिखा लें? क्या सिखा लें? How can my session be most effective? How can I actually achieve my maximum learning outcomes in those 40 minutes? So you got to think how it has to be played up. Fine. Let me continue. Okay, this we have done. I will come back to this slide later. Okay, now a little example, another example I'm giving you for handling the foundational years. Can you see what is being shown? Okay, what I have over here is a storybook. Okay. Now I'm reading this story to a child. I have many friends. Some of my friends are older. Some of them are younger. The story I'm reading, slowly I'm putting it ahead and just keep going through the story. Some of my friends have tails. Some of my friends have no feet. Like I said, a child, for him, it's all environment. Whether he has a girl as a friend or as a fly as a friend, they're all friends to him. Oh, my books are my friends too. But who's my best friend? Who? So there is a reflection happening. There is something. Then he comes back to his best friend, who's his mother, and the story finishes. A very, very simple story and a very, very, very simple. Just a minute, how do I go back? Yeah. So I come back to this. We read this story. If I do this story with the child, what learning outcome have I achieved? Now, learning outcomes for doing this session in my class. Quickly, chat box. Connecting child with nature, plants, okay, with animals. What is my learning outcome? Any more learning outcomes by reading this story? Animal features we have discussed, categorization ability we are developing. Once we have discussed about the friends, we can say this is the animal friends, these are plant friends, these are human friends or whatever, perfect. These are family, okay. Nature, yes, Neha, correct. Anything else?
They can learn as a nature walk. They can learn which are plants, which are trees, what are the colors of flowers, butterflies, bees.
Whom am I listening to? कौन बोल रहा था अभी?
Nishi.
Yeah, Nishi, perfect, very correct. So this you're teaching how what all is around us. And Anju and Tanika also feel their imagination skills are also there. Am I developing imagination skill by reading this story? Or child has his own imagination and he's giving a reflection of that? What is the situation? So see, Bakshi feels that we are also developing thinking skills. Affective domain is honed because there is we are touching upon the emotions of the kid. Books can be friends for us like plants, animals, etc. So this, we are also teaching a child that how to respect the book. He can also be friend. It can also be a friend to us. And are we teaching listening skills to students? When I'm reading and a child is listening, am I teaching him listening skills? Am I developing listening skills? Am I also telling, imagination is a very nice word that you used. And when I say imagination, it also means that am I helping the person visualize something as he hears? So as I close my eyes and I just hear, somebody say a big red balloon. So a different red balloon comes into my mind, and maybe in Rashmi's mind, a different balloon comes in Meenakshi ma'am's mind, a different balloon comes into mind, depending on what you had seen at your place or in some mela or some place. So your imagination or your learning or your visualization depends on what you had seen before that. So exposure to the child has helped in learning. And that is what is very important. That now, if after this, sorry. After suppose reading this story, and I do little exercise with the student, and I say that now this is the story time. We have read the story. Now let's do the analysis of the story. If I take this sheet and discuss with the child. Okay, children, who were the characters in the story? Who were the characters? Whatever the person's name, I was a character, then there was a fly, then there was, all those people will tell you what were the characters were in that. this was, there were no names over here. There were no names in the story that I gave you an example of. But sometime in the story, it goes like this. Ram goes and then he meets Mita, and Mita gets his pet dog. So what will the character, who are the characters? The child will say Ram, Mita, and the whatever, Pearl the dog. 3. These are the characters. Coming to next question. Okay, let's analyze. When did the story happen? When do you think the story happened? When we went for a nature walk, or when so-and-so did this. So all kinds of questions will come. It will, what are you making a child go through? A child is reflecting on a situation, though there is a story which is a ready-made story, but you're letting child brood beyond, go beyond, reflect even further. Where did the story take place? Probably when this, whatever. They'll be all open-ended and answers that will come. What really happened in this? That person identified the friend. This is not a very typical story. This is a very small, simple storybook. But this kind of template where you give there are anything that you go through, rather any problem that you have, any policy that you design. I've designed my school policies. I've simply followed 5 W's in that and 1 H. This 5 W's and 1 H is a thought process. It's a way, it's a tool, it's a technique. Always remember this, anything that you're trying to do, just follow 5 W's and 1 H. 5 W's are who, when, where, what, why. Can you see this? Who were the characters? When did the story happen? Where did the story take place? What happened? Why did it happen? So these are the 5 W's. And 1 H. 1 H is how. How did it happen? So whether I'm teaching photosynthesis or who, green leaves, when there is sunlight, where did the story take place? It happens in the stomata, green leaf, lower portion, and all that scientific stuff. What happened? This chlorophyll and this sunlight and this reaction changing into glucose, going there, xylem, phloem, and all those descriptions. Why did it happen? Because plant is a living being. It also needs to make its own food. How did it happen? Of course, the entire process. So this is how we go about it. And if we really want to actually take that story to the next level. So a simple storytelling, if you have created a template also for yourself, this is the kind of work happens. Okay, how do I come back to my PPT? Yeah. So this is what we talked about. We'll go fast because we have very less time. Oh my God, I'll skip this. I will, you can go through it. This is another example of a lesson plan, which talks about, I gave you a lesson plan of a very chota bachas. This is a lesson plan for class 4. So I've picked up one for preparatory years. You will see that it talks about the effects of sun. The topic is effects of sun. Now, how that effect of sun, what is sunshine, that talk about pictures and then relating the words in the lesson. Then there is English picked up over here. There's a group activity. This is an example where you can understand how one lesson or how one session can help you achieve multiple examples. Now, there is another there's another show and tell. Suppose I have this sheet in front of me. I have a picture over here, and I simply tell students to find facts about the picture. It is like reflection. How do I develop these critical thinking skills or the problem solving skills among the children? How do they actually become self-learners? If I keep throwing everything, I show this picture and says this, there was a boy who was going to do whatever. How does the child develop his own thinking abilities, his own processing abilities? Our objective of our sessions should be that our learners become self-learners. We should be facilitators. We should be helping them reach where we want them to reach. So these are a few examples I just wanted to show you so that you understand. Now is the time for breakout rooms. We will try to get into the breakouts. Tanya, what we have to do, we have to pick up any purpose from an NEP, any portion, anything that we want to pick up, define its development goals, and think of a teaching learning session. कोई भी एक अपना lesson अपने दिमाग में visualize कर लो और हमें आप बताओगे वापस आके कि what is this, what are you doing in your classroom? And when you're doing this in your classroom, What are the learning outcomes that you're achieving? Try to keep it as many learning outcomes being met in one session. And then come back and say, which are the development goals that you have tried to achieve? उसके और ऊपर जाओ, अगर ये नहीं कर पाओगे NAP वाला छोड़ दो, just at least talk about the development goals and at least talk about the learning outcomes. These two, and then we come back. You have 5 to 7 minutes in your breakout rooms. Yeah, Tanya, you could give the instructions. Tanya, you there?
Yes, Pratishtha will give the instructions.
Pratishtha. Okay, Pratishtha,
Yeah, she will.
Okay, instructions to everybody. On your screen, there is an icon of breakout rooms, if you can see. Okay, when you click on that, you will observe that there are 3 groups available. One is classes up to 2nd, the other is from 3rd to 5th, and the third one is from 6th to 8th. Okay, you have the option of choosing any of these groups as per the class which you deal in daily basis. What you have to do is that against the name of the group, यानी कि क्लास के ग्रुप के आगे आप देखेंगे पार्टिसिपेंट्स के नंबर लिखे होंगे. इनिशियली 0 लिखा होगा सबके आगे. When you go on that number, it will and click on that, आपको वो join करने की request पूछेगा. So you can join in the room. I am requesting all of you to please now check with your breakout room option and try and log in the rooms. आप access कर सकते हैं, rooms बन चुके हैं. I can see a lot of them have joined. They have started choosing them.
Started leaving. I can see that. Pooja Poonam, do you need assistance?
I will again repeat. आपकी स्क्रीन पर जो आइकन्स आते हैं like mute, unmute, right?
Seven, 8 minutes only to do the discussion.
Rita, Nidhi has raised her arm.
Yeah, Nidhi, yeah, over to you. Would you like to speak what happened in the room, or would you like to any open-ended discussion? Basically, primarily, I want one person to speak from each room. What happened in the room? What kind of discussion? Any new learning from your peer group? Any good lesson plan that you created? Or any? Yes, Nidhi.
Yes, with the help of objects, we can learn numbers to the children.
Teach numbers. Yeah, very good. And then what do you learn? What is the learning outcome in this? That you've taught numbers and you have helped them correlate object with number.
Object with the numbers. Yes.
There is a mapping of object with numbers. Anything else? How did you make them do this? Did they actually got up and picked up those objects? How did you actually? What was the activity? सोचो क्या किया होगा? क्या did you tell the child कि उठो यहाँ से एक object उठाओ यहाँ पे लाओ रखो number 1 दूसरा लाओ number 2 अगर ऐसा कराए तो there is a motor skill development also, there's a physical development also happening. So depending on how did you make that child do, whether it is a cognitive exercise or whatever happened, how did you make them do will decide what all activity or skills or abilities are you developing in a child. है ना निधि? और कुछ बताओ, और कुछ बताना चाहते हो? Which group are you, Nidhi?
Ma'am, up to second.
Up to second. कोई और है up to second वाला जो anybody wants to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Anamika.
Ma'am, some कप लेके उसके अंदर बॉल्स बीट्स को डालने के लिए कि हमने बच्चे को नंबर बताया कि 1 को उसमें नंबर मार्क कर देंगे कि आप नंबर 1 को नंबर 1 के उसमें कप में डालो.
Perfect. So it's a number recognition also you're teaching.
Yes, yes.
You have written number 1 and the child
Yes.
is also looking at that figure. So you're also
Yes.
helping the child correlate, and so there's a number recognition also you're teaching. Very good. So you have added one more learning outcome in your activity. Perfect. Anything else? Anybody else? Or we move to next room? Nidhi is an old hand, or have you risen it again? Acha, second
It's
group?
old hand.
Okay. Third, fourth, fifth का कोई कुछ बोलेगा? What happened in that room?
Actually, we planned that we'll take the student for a nature walk, or you can say a school park. There the child will learn about the nature, different types of plants, you can say herbs, shrubs, creepers, climbers. They are going to, and they will know about different types of, you can say animals also there, those who lives on trees, or
Exposure to animal kingdom, I mean certain
Yeah.
plants and
Yeah.
certain animals, and
yeah.
they walk around.
Touch and feel also, you can
Yes.
say.
Touch and various sensory.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can Kanika, when you go back to that paragraph, if you have that book, you want, I can show it again. Can you go back and tell me where is that? What are you correlating it with?
Just a minute.
सी पर्पस था मेरा कि आप इसको बड़े पिक्चर इसका देखो. यहाँ पे आ जाते हैं, चलो, या यहाँ पे आ जाते हैं. इनमें से मतलब बड़ा पिक्चर क्या था एनईपी में, जिसको आपने छोटा गोल्स में वो किया, फिर उस गोल्स को और छोटे लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव्स में कन्वर्ट किया और अपने क्लास में किया. तो आपको आई जस्ट वांटेड यू ऑल टू विजुअलाइज कि क्या क्लास में होता है और क्या हमें गाइड किया है मैक्रो पिक्चर जो है. हाउ डू वी, कहने के लिए हम सिर्फ एक क्लास के टीचर हैं, बट हाउ आर वी ऑल्सो इम्पैक्टिंग द ग्रोथ इन आवर कंट्री. How are we actually helping this paradigm shift that we keep talking about? हमारे एक छोटे से एक्शन से, हमारे छोटे से कैसे हम लेसन प्लान डिजाइन कर रहे हैं, उससे हमारे हमारे बच्चों पे क्या इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है. This I wanted to bring in little more wider perspective in your thinking. That's why I said this. Yeah, against time, so I'll just take on the next room and then we finish this session. Or we take question answer in case, or you are welcome to leave. Whoever wants to leave has some commitment at home can go. Anybody who wants to ask questions can stay back. But before with that, we do that, we want to take middle year group. Middle year with 9th and 10th, the teachers also attached with it. Anybody wants to speak?
Yes, ma'am. I want to say something, ma'am.
Shrestha?
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, Shrestha.
Ma'am, like for example, if I want to teach students about flowers, like different parts the flowers have, so I can take them, and also about like different type of plants, monocots and dicots, to be very specific. Like in angiosperm, which we'll talk about. So I can take them for a walk in the park, and I can tell them to collect leaves of different sizes, shapes, and venation pattern. Like they can collect it on their own, and in class I can tell them and discuss them ki, like, you first tell me what all difference you are observing, and then I'll guide you, or I'll explain you like how they are different from each other, like monocots and dicots, how they are different, like in terms of reticulate and parallel venation. And if we'll talk about flowers, so then I can tell them these are different worlds of flower, like
in monocot and dicot, do you also
worlds,
show
like
them
how
slides? Shrestha, do you also show them slides of monocot and dicot later?
Ma'am,
or only the leaves?
Yeah, we can show them slides also, and we can, ma'am, slides, roots, and then what, seeds.
Perfect.
Seeds we can show them.
Perfect.
Single
Perfect. There is a correlation.
There
is a correlation here. When you are doing monocot
and gram that we.
Yeah. So it's a very beautiful exercise that you thought of. But just talking about leaves and talking about the venation and all, we should not stop. We should build it upon. I really liked it. You scaffold it, bring it the seeds, whether they are two seeds or एक single. जब तोड़ते हैं उसको क्या उसमें दो कॉट निकलते हैं या एक ही कॉटिलेडन निकलता है. This is what you're trying to say, right? तो आपको सीड का भी हो गया,
Yes,
साथ
ma'am.
साथ में रूट भी हो गया, और साथ साथ में आपके वेनेशंस इन द लीव्स भी हो गया, और साथ साथ में आपका so very this is a very good exercise. Now there is a correlation that you're teaching a child. There is a correlation. How do we? There is an identification that you're teaching a child. Anything else that you want to in the same exercise? You know, I can think of a very nice example. In physics, we have a system of lenses. When you make them go through these slides, how is this lens, the microscope, how is the lenses arranged? And how is this lens is able to magnify? So what is a concave lens and what is a convex lens and what is in the microscope? So आपने क्या किया? Physics और biology में एक connection build up, है ना? So आपके बहुत अच्छा example था. इसमें हम थोड़ा सा.
And point is like we can.
हाँ, श्रेष्ठा थोड़ा.
Ma'am, we can also show them like the sections of the like. Yeah, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, Shreஷ்ಠa.
Yeah. Hello.
I can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. We can also, we can also put the sections of the ovary. Like it is basically you can, as you just mentioned, like we can use the slide preparation, and I can explain them like how the microscope works, how the lenses work together to magnify the image, and magnification and such words can also be the part of it. Reflection and everything.
Yeah, Shreஷ்ಠa, एक और step मैं एक और ऊपर जाऊंगी. When these people picked up the leaves, we take pictures of that. Then we are separating the venations. और सब venations हम लोग कितनी बार क्लास में, हमारी बहुत अच्छी biology teacher होती थी. She would make us do that. उसको रखो, pencil से ऐसे मारो, फिर उठेगा तो दिखेगा leaf के सारे venations दिख जाते थे. All these things, if I go one step ahead and I do IT integration, I tell them कि please PPT presentation बना लो इस सबका. उसके बाद एक और स्टेप आगे गए, हमने थर्ड जने को बोला प्लीज कम एंड प्रेजेंट एंड यू आर आल्सो ब्रिंगिंग इन इंग्लिश कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स इन इट. You understand? So how the same lesson can have 4-5 subjects involved in it, right?
Yes, ma'am. Integrated learning it basically brings.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was lovely hearing from you. And you also answered so many questions. So it was nice interacting with you, Shreஷ்ಠa. If only I could see how beautiful you were. No worries. Okay, anybody else who wants to talk about in team 3 or any other team? Team 3 can speak a little more. Yeah.
Ma'am, in the class group of 6 to 8, we even touched upon one topic, for example, algebra, that is introduced to the students.
Yeah.
Now, as my understanding, I would add to this, that algebra greatly deals with variables, numbers, and other properties, identities that we can work around to manipulate and ease the problems. So one thing that algebra helps build firstly is their abstract thinking of the child. Why? Because we are talking about things which are not concrete anymore, the transition from concrete operational stage to formal operational stage.
Absolutely.
Secondly, algebra somewhere begins with the base of identifying generalizations and patterns in settings outside. So जब हम identities की बात करते हैं, making use of fun paper based, lot of geometry based activities to help children understand the similarities and the patterns in geometric figures जिनके चलते हम identities तक पहुंचे हैं, makes them sound more concrete, and why the identities are thus making our calculations simpler and easier. Further, higher levels of algebra, where we talk about the concept of monomial, binomials, and polynomials, helps student also understand how in real life situations there are multiple factors which affect anything, be it decision making skills, be it productivity in given situation. So making algebra more and more context helps them build abstract thinking as well as correlate their decision-making skills in general life. So that
I
is
love what I hear, Pratishtha, because half the time people, like I'm myself a maths person. So I'm all my life I've been maths teacher till I was teaching. So all our lives we have this issue of most of the maths teachers are not able to
contextualize it.
And students say that, why are we learning this?
Yes.
Still you cannot, for example, if I don't have to go to the polynomial or the algebraic expression in a big time. I can simply say that if Rita is double the age of Pratishtha, so Rita stands for R and Pratishtha stands for P, it's obvious that P multiplied by 2 is Rita. So I've got a very simple equation which connects, which tells the child, this is what statement you made in English, I'm simply putting it in mathematics or in algebra. So that R becomes, I don't know what is Rita age. P becomes, I don't know what Pratishtha's age is, but whatever Pratishtha is today, and Rita is double of that. So I like the way you kind of connected the entire with your psychology knowledge. I think it brought in little psychology here and you brought in little maths here. So yes, I understand what you said, and this is what it will be so beautiful if all the teachers can bring this in the classrooms. I am okay with the time as long as you people are. Otherwise, it's 5:20. If you want, I can take on some more question and answer, or any discussion for open-ended answer. Discussion can also happen. Just the way Pratishtha spoke just now. Anybody else who wants to could raise your hands, and Pratishtha or Tanya could probably unmute you. Anybody else?
Rita, we'll take one more question because I think the counselors have to take a shuttle.
Yeah.
Teachers are all at home, but my team has to get back home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any one more question, or
one
otherwise
last
we are
question.
done for the day? I think we're generally done.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
can I ask one question? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's very general. Like, when we discuss in class, like students are very active in participating, but then that created somehow noise thoda sa na, like disturbance create ho jata hai by classes. Like how we are supposed to, or how we are supposed to cope up with that. Now, they are participating, but then when like we are happy, then we raise that. Like, ma'am, can I say something? Can I say something? Of course, we are enjoying the session, but then it created somehow disturbance for other classes. So, like, how can we manage that
There is
particular
something
thing?
called laying off rules. You always decide on what are your classroom rules are going to be. You start any session, say, okay, you keep changing your rules. It could be to make the thing interesting. You could say, today we will all learn with the first 5 minutes with our right hand up in the air. And then, okay, we'll keep listening like this. Or we will say next 2 minutes, whatever we are going to discuss, we are going to keep our hands on our ears like this, and then they're going to listen to the session. You just bring in any novelty on your sessions. You know, there is one lady who taught, I don't know if you know what a phonemic awareness, when you teach phonetics or when you bring in what kind of word sound this particular word will make, you know, how she used to do she would actually create a decoding. That was actually a foundation for decoding also. She would say that, okay, I'm going to say ship now. Okay, teaching this to small children, ship. Okay, she says, okay, first we will, the moment that sound changes, we are going to do push-ups. So student chose push-ups for that. They said, okay, when a different, we'll do first push-up when there are 3 stops to ship. Okay, sh, e, p. So how many sounds are there? Sh, e, p. So sh, e, p. So what I'm trying to say is, you yourself, see, children will not stop. Children will not remain still. You will have to devise those kind of ways in your classroom where you bring in that kind of physical stuff in your classroom. You could do, okay, all of us will stand for some time and let's continue. Okay, now, so you bring in that physical activity in your classroom and continue with your classroom. I mean,
right.
I think we are good to go. There is a shuttle honking.
Yeah. Thank you, Rita. Thank you so much. It was a very, very informative session.
And
Thank you, Rita, ma'am.
Thank you. God bless.